Salute to Knicks Nation, CP the franchise here. You know, a lot of you guys DM me and let me know how much KnicksFanTV means to you, how much it's gotten you through a tough time, especially during the pandemic. Some of you even DM me and said that you were depressed, you were going through a lot of anxiety, and the show really helped you get through a tough spot in your life. And so regardless of if you've been clinically diagnosed with depression or anxiety, or you're just somebody who's just looking to get your life back on the right track, therapy can really give you the tools to approach your life in a different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more accessible and more affordable. And that's very important because in today's day and age, it's very difficult to find a therapy that you like in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a simple questionnaire, a couple of questions, BetterHelp can match you with a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. Try it out using the link below. That's betterhelp.com/KnicksFanTV, and they will give you $10 off your first month. And because finding a therapist is a little bit like dating, sometimes it can be hard, and sometimes you pick one that you don't like. Have no fear, because with BetterHelp, you can switch and find the therapist that works best for you without stressing about insurance or who's in your network or anything like that. And as I said before, it doesn't mean that you've got something wrong with you. It just means that you could be looking to get your life back on track. I've taken therapy before, and it's helped me in droves in terms of getting my life in order and getting back on the right track. So I highly recommend it. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the video description or just go to betterhelp.com/KnicksFanTV for $10 off your first month. Well, first, we're going to kick things off with the Zach Lavine news, man. According to The Athletic, Zach Lavine open to a trade from the Chicago Bulls. So I wanted to bring on my guy, nobody better to talk to about this situation than the host and CEO of Chicago Bulls Central. You could also catch him on Chicago Bears Central for you football fans. My guy Hayes is in the building. Hayes, how you feeling, bro?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Honestly, I'm not as surprised by a lot of Bulls fans by this trade stuff. So
yeah. Let's talk about it, man. You got the Bulls right now sitting at 4-7. Season off to a rocky start. There was rumors of players only meeting just after the first game, right? Unheard of. But to pull this thing back with the Lavine era, it's year number 7. It's been 3 years since they made the Vucevic trade, going all in on Vucevic. They got DeRozan in that process. Hasn't been working out, man. And now we're hearing that he's open for a trade. When you heard that, because I feel like, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like all the Lavine trade rumors leading up to this point has been kind of one-sided, where it's like the Bulls are listening, the Bulls are calling, or other teams are gauging the Bulls. But we didn't hear that Lavine was open to it. So what do you think about that when you hear that he's kind of waving the white flag a little bit?
Yeah, I think that it makes sense. And it came out today too that he's never gotten over Billy Donovan benching one in a game a year ago when he was 1 of 14 from the field. He had scored 4 points. So that, it's a little bit of thing. And I think it's all maximized by not winning, right? Like if you're winning, you got to look over the bad. But this team coming into the season, making the changes that they made or lack thereof, doubling down on Billy Donovan. And something that a lot of people haven't reported on, talked on, Michael Reinsdorf, who's basically running the day-to-day operations for the Chicago Bulls, has always been reportedly not the biggest fan of Zach Lavine. So it kind of, when you bring all that together, it all makes sense. Now you're also hearing that some of the players as well are kind of over Zach Lavine and feels like he doesn't really hold himself accountable. And it kind of makes sense. I feel like every player, every team, every coach, it runs its course eventually, right? If you're lucky, you're able to keep a player for the majority of their career. It's all sunshine and rainbows. And eventually you have to come to a situation and realize it's just not working out. And that's kind of naturally where this has progressed to. It went from listening to deals to turning those deals down to okay, well, do you got a little bit more to offer? No, okay, we don't want it. So now it's the point where with the losing that we've done, for the large part, we had a 35-game stretch when Lonzo Ball was there where it looked like things were going to turn around. But for the most part, out of the 7 years Zach Lavine's been here, has been a lot of losing. So it makes sense.
Definitely has been a lot of losing. I think to your point, without Lonzo Ball, Hayes, that's where it really went south, because the beginning of that season when you got Lonzo, You talk about Caruso and everybody else with DeRozan. Like, that team was on fire, but not having a guy who's a connector could keep everybody kind of intact offensively has really hurt the Bulls. But you mentioned Zach LaVine's done a lot of losing over there as well. Like, part of it's been him, part of it's been the team. Like, who would you actually place it more on? Because I feel like it's just been a revolving door since LaVine has been in Chicago.
I mean, I put it mainly on both front offices. He's seen 2 front offices and 3 head coaches in his time here, and I think when you look at the front office that Garpax, before they left, they put Jim Boylan in place, and he just was a terrible head coach. He killed the momentum, he killed the development, he killed the confidence of a lot of players there. And we had the situation where LaVine publicly in a game told him F him, like everybody saw it. And so then you bring in, you fire him, you bring in a new front office, you bring in Billy Donovan. He has some issues with Billy Donovan here just over the last year or so. But then at the same time, it's just you haven't been able to really have a solid team around it. Like when we were drafting Wendell and Laurie and Kobe and all these players, like they were just drafting, hoping something would stick. It really wasn't a plan in place or a thought process between how the players were going to fit together. So that led to what it led to. And then you have this brief glimpse, and then the front office now that we have has admittedly rebounded terribly since Lonzo Ball went down. It's like they saw that was the version of the team that they envisioned. It worked to a degree. Lonzo went down, and now they've been trying to get back to that point. And you look at LaVine and I try to look at everything from both sides, right? And then when you look at it from LaVine's standpoint too, he's about to be 30. He's approaching 30, and he hasn't done much winning in his career. He hasn't been on the best team. Some of it's his fault. Some of it's the team that was constructed, but he probably just wants to win now.
Do you think he's more of a 1 or 2 type player, or even a 3rd type option on a team?
I think Zach LaVine could be a really good 2. Ideally, if you can make Zach LaVine your 3rd best option, then your team is on point. But I think ideally Zach could be a really, really good 2, especially if you bring him with a strong-minded head coach and a strong culture already. I think he'd be solid.
I'm with you, Hayes. I think it just comes a time where it's just time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we as Knicks fans, we saw that during the Carmelo era. Raptors fans saw that with DeMar DeRozan. That's why Ujiri went out and upgraded and got Kawhi Leonard and walked into a championship. It just comes a time where the process has run its course, and you realize that you can no longer go any further with that guy. And it's not to put it all on Zach LaVine. Obviously, you just talked about a multitude of issues that has plagued this Bulls organization, far removed from the Jordan and the D Rose, Tom Thibodeau era, those eras, far removed from that. But it just seems like, as we watch this guy over the career, a walking bucket, no question about it. Just dropped a 50-piece this year, but it just doesn't seem like he can consistently make winning plays for his team, be that guy that, it's hard to be that guy. There's only but so many guys that you can really build a team around in the NBA. And I feel like Zach LaVine, he's going to fall into that group of players where he's got to now go somewhere where he's either the secondary or the tertiary option, where he can just focus on what he does best, which is score.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Like Zach LaVine, I think before the season before we got DeMar and Lonzo, Zach LaVine averaged, he was the most efficient. He was close to a 50, 40, 90 player. He was like off by like 2% on the field goal, but close to 50, 40, 90. The most efficient season he had. And we've seen his usage rate and everything go down since then. And that's not to say that it's all on him. It should go down when you're on a better team, right? You shouldn't have to be used as much. But Zach LaVine right now is having the worst field goal shooting percentage of his career, the worst true shooting percentage of his career, and the second worst PER since his rookie year. So he also has to hold the bag on that a little bit, that his own accountability. So
then how do you move a guy like that with a $215 million contract that he just signed this offseason?
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it was last offseason. This is the second year of the deal. But
That's right.
I think that, people, if somebody wants to bring in Zach LaVine, it's because they understand what he does well. I think now there's no more, it's the potential's done, right? I don't think anybody's going to sell themselves on the potential of LaVine. But if you're a team like the Lakers, who just, the Lakers always want somebody, right? If you're a team like Miami that's looking for somebody to pair with Jimmy, if you're a team that kind of, and I think the Heat culture specifically, like they could get really frustrated at Zach, especially lack of defense. But if you have that culture already built in and you know what you're getting in Zach, I think you want him because of the things he does well, and you think you can maximize on that. I don't think you're looking at LaVine to necessarily save your franchise. You're looking at him to add kind of a sprinkle on top of what you've already been cooking.
Al, who's your landing spots for Lavine, man? Who do you like? What teams do you like?
I think it should be Philly, man. I think Philly with Maxey
Mm.
and Embiid being that off-ball scorer that you need outside of just having Maxey. Just you allow Maxey to still be that creator. Lavine has shown that he can play off-ball efficiently. I think that's the team. If you want to talk about Philly going to another level, like they're playing really well right now. If you want to give Boston, even Milwaukee, a run for their money, I think Lavine, because over there he could be that third option, right? Maxey's already solidified himself as that number 2 guy. Embiid, obviously MVP caliber player. He's number 1. Lavine on that team, you make his life 10 times easier, man. Who do you feel though?
I like Philly, especially at the pace that Nick Nurse is playing in. I think that's a pace that a guy like a Lavine could excel in. I do worry about a backcourt defense with both he and Maxey, but I do like Philly. Again, slotting him in there as that tertiary option, can play off ball, off of Maxey, off of Embiid. Again, no pressure. Take the pressure off of him. I think that'd be an ideal role for him. I think the Heat will get him right because there's one thing that, Riley Spo, they won't settle for lackluster performances. Like, you got to come to play. You got to come ready, come in shape and be ready to go. And so I have to think that on Zach Lavine going on potentially his third tour or with the new team, that he may look at the Chicago situation and say, look, like, this is it. I want to reclaim my rep. I want people to see like, yo, I'm a bucket, but I could be a champion. I can be a winner as well. And I think Miami could bring that out of him. I think the Lakers makes a ton of sense. They need him. They need him the most because the over-reliance on LeBron James is only going to get them nowhere fast. Right? Like, you're going through an 82-game schedule with relying on LeBron James and Anthony Davis to stay healthy and stay effective. That's a tall order, especially how stacked the West is right now. You get a Zach Lavine in there. LeBron could go back on his load management, the ideal load management time for him. You have a bucket out there that can go out there and get his own. If AD gets hurt, yeah, that'll be tough. But you still got some production there. I think the Lakers of the 3 would be the most perfect fit. I think it'd be the most. Plus, it's a clutch warehouse, right?
Yeah.
This is.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second.
Sports. That's it.
Is Reeves going in this deal? Because does he have the poison pill in his contract since he signed an extension?
Well, I would ask Jesus, what do you think Chicago wanted? Would they take Reeves and his contract back on, or are they looking at, not trying to commit to salary and really trying to tear this thing down completely?
From what we've heard, and we haven't heard any changes, is that they do want a young, promising player. They want either a really high-level young player or they want 2 first-round picks and then salary cap filler. I think Reeves could fit in what they want, right? And keep in mind, too, Zach Lavine has a 15% trade kicker in his contract as well. So even if it does end up turning into a poison pill deal, they may have to include some other things, but I wouldn't knock Reeves coming in. I don't know if it's not perfect, right? You're not saying, hey, we got Reeves, we're good. I think also you look at the Lakers pick, if I'm not mistaken, they have a 2028 and 2030 first round pick they can offer. And the reason why that may work for the Bulls is that both those picks come after Lavine's contract is off the books. So you may be hoping and playing the factor of, okay, that team could be completely done by that point, and then we could reap the benefits of having lottery picks from a team that just got done going on their run, and now we get to reap the rewards of that.
Yeah, they may be in the best rebuild spot in terms of how valuable those future picks will be.
Yeah,
but Philly, I mean, it seems like it's back wide open, right, in terms of their contender window. And then also, Maury's goal was to have ample salary cap for the next offseason. Not sure if Lavine is the target there to fill up that salary cap with. So that'll be interesting. Al, Knicks fans were kicking the tires on this thing last night. I was getting a whole bunch of DMs.
Last night. It's still going on today.
Well, yeah, for sure. CP, what do you think? What do you think? What should we do? I've wavered on this. I was first out. Then I was like, after they lost to the Heat, I'm like, I'm tight. I want revenge. But like, I don't. It's price depending, man. But I have a hard time doing it, man. Because I just don't think he is the last piece to the puzzle. Like, I just said, like, there's only but so many guys you could truly build a team around. Like, I look at Zach Lavine, I put him in the same bucket as a Julius, right? Like what Paul George was with the Pacers, what Harden is. Like great guys, great players, all-star caliber players, incredible talents individually, but from a team perspective, I think we need more than that. I just think the Knicks need more from a player that can make their teammates better from a playmaking standpoint, and also on the defensive side, being a force on that end. I don't see him pushing the needle for us.
The thing I always look at it with is like Zach. If you look at Zach Lavine and RJ Barrett, are they the exact same player? No, but they have similar ceilings. So, like to me, if Zach Lavine were to go to the Knicks and you do send a package of RJ Barrett and first round picks back, I don't really think that ups the ceiling at all for the Knicks, right? That doesn't change very much for the Knicks. So,
yeah, you know, if you listen to Scott Perry when he was on ESPN yesterday, he sounds like a Zach Lavine type player is what he's thinking is the last piece for that team. He's like, you know, just another guy who could score out in isolation. You don't need some superstar. He thinks someone in that tier to pair with RJ, Brunson, and Randall is what you need. But for me, it's like the money doesn't add up, man. That's a lot of 215. That's a lot. Yeah. But you know, I was asked this like, oh, or so, and some people said, I would trade Lavine, and someone was like, put their RJ in that. Then they retracted that. They're like, no, actually, I like the way the team's cooking right now. Don't mess up the chemistry. Others are asking me for the other player if the Bulls do decide to break it all down, and saying DeRozan, which love DeRozan. We don't need another guy on the Knicks who operates 15 feet in. We need a guy who stretches the floor. We don't need to watch. We're going to be watching like old school basketball. Everyone's like just taking mid-range jumpers or trying to get to the rack.
Yeah.
Like DeRozan, though.
I mean, Hayes, I got to think, obviously, with the Lavine stuff coming out, it seems like it's everybody's on deck here between, obviously, DeRozan being an expiring contract, Vucevic, Lavine. Seems like this could be a complete fire sale here.
Yeah, so I'm hearing conflicting things. So we initially heard that, right? And that would make sense. You trade Lavine, that's probably what you're getting the most back for. You see what you get, and then you go and try to supplement whatever you get from Zach with going ahead and moving DeMar and seeing if you get another young piece or whatever back. But then it came out today that like the Bulls are interested in holding on to DeMar if they do trade Lavine, but DeMar wants to see the direction of the team. And to me, that makes no sense. And that's what's so frustrating about the Bulls front office right now. They can't pick a direction and stick to it. You can't move Lavine and then say you want to re-sign 34-year-old DeMar DeRozan for what? That's the thing that I worry about is going to be the downfall of this front office, is that they are terrified of just being bad for 3 years, right? I don't know. I would hope that they go ahead and move DeMar. And then at that point, Alex Caruso too. I love Caruso, but you want to get the most assets back, do the OKC method as they call it. But it really seems like this front office just is having a bad time committing to just being bad for 3 to 5 years. So,
and that's the direction you want this team to go, just be bad for 3 to 5 years?
Ideally,
go through the draft?
Ideally, no. I would have rather this team actually made a move this offseason, whether it been DeMar, whether it been Vooch, before it seemed like we have to make a move and try to bring in talent to at least maybe flirt around the play-in and get some assets back, and then you can develop your young pieces, things like that. But where we are right now, I just don't know if I realistically see with what offers are out there for a deal to be good enough for the Bulls to try to up their ceiling at all. So the best way to do that is to be bad for a few years.
And I just have to ask, what was the move that you wanted to see this offseason to help the Bulls take that next step forward?
To me, I would have explored what DeMar DeRozan was worth. I think at that point in time, DeMar DeRozan's value this offseason was way higher than what it is now. He's also shooting some of the worst splits of his career. And I think you had some opportunities with signing trades of some other things with what we had in disabled player exception for Zoe. We still just have sitting there we haven't used. So it's not that I had necessarily targets in mind. I think like a Trey Jones, things like that would have helped the Bulls a little bit more with what this core was, but they really just kicked the can down the road. They brought in Javon Carter, Torrey Craig, two really good role players, but you try to sell that on now we feel like we can be a playoff team when you haven't done much. And that was my overall problem with this team.
As for assets, it feels like you guys are okay. Like you got this year's draft. You don't have one for next year, but after that, you got your first rounder for the next couple of years. You guys seem fine.
We have all the first one. And technically our pick next year is top 10 protected. So if the Bulls were to go just be really bad, there's a chance we get to keep that as well. So
once again, we are talking to my guy Hayes from the Chicago Bulls Central podcast. Salute to everybody in the chat. Once again, hit the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe to the channel. Let's shout out some people in the chat, man. I want to shout out my guy, My 2 Cents. We got JJ in here, John Talento, TM, Demario Montague. What's good? Jaron Ellenthal, salute. He said they should rebuild. Shout out to my guy, Jay Boogie, Al, $20 super chat from the General. Jay Boogie says Sixers make moves before the Knicks. It'll be a major blow, but I'm down here in the A tailgate tour here to DC, then Charlotte. All right, so Jay Boogie's going on a road trip with the rest of the KFTV World Warriors. He said the Hudson restaurant right next to Phillips Arena down there in Atlanta says they're asking, where's my brother? I said he's live right now in the NBA report. So salute to everybody watching at Hudson restaurant. Salute to our Knicks fans down there in the A, getting it popping. Knicks and Hawks getting back into action tonight at 7:30. Final one for you, Hayes. Patrick Williams situation.
Oof.
Looking for a new deal. He wants the bag. What have you thought about it?
By the way, seems like a very nice guy. Got to meet him at Summer League. Seems like a very down-to-earth guy.
Yeah.
I need to hear it.
What have you seen from him this year, and what do you think about the prospects of an extension?
He's going to get an extension. I don't think this front office is going to let him go without, getting something done. And I think he's going to have to realize that big money deal, that bag, it ain't coming. You're going to have to deal with I don't know, a Ziploc bag, because you're not getting a money bag. That's not coming for you, brother. And I think ultimately Patrick Williams is a combination of failure of a coach, but also his own personal lack of aggression. Like, to me, the feeling that I get from Patrick Williams, and I hope at 22 years old, he still has time to grow out of it. But Patrick Williams doesn't come off to me as somebody who loves basketball. He comes off as somebody who's been good at basketball, so he's been able to do it. But I don't get the feeling that Patrick Williams loves basketball. And until that happens, I think we're always going to see this inconsistency from Patrick Williams.
And that was your number 4 overall pick, man.
Halliburton and Devin Vassell were right there. Right there.
Seems like the same thing the Knicks are saying.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right, man. Man. Well, Hayes, great job. Good luck. We're going to continue to monitor the situation. And if anything goes down, we want you right back here in the NBA report, man. Definitely appreciate the time. Let the fans know where they can find you. Drop your social media handles and let them know where they can find you, bro.
Absolutely. If you want to follow me personally, you can do so at CEO Hayes. If you want to follow my podcast, it's Bull Central Pod on every social media platform and Shy Bears Central on every social media platform. Same handles on YouTube as well if you guys want to check out the channels.
Absolutely, man. My guy Hayes from Chicago Bull Central. Make sure you guys check him out. So to everybody in the chat, once again, hit that thumbs up button for you boys. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe.